welcome to Bibliophiles Anonymous, episode 61. I'm Denise.
And I'm Jess.
And today we are very happy to bring you our much anticipated, long awaited Catching Fire review.
Yes.
I got
to see it.
I am really looking forward to what you have to say about it, because I know what I thought, but you're usually a lot more critical than I am.
Well, to be fair, I haven't read Catching Fire in a while.
Ah, maybe that's part of it.
So I'm less critical than I usually am.
Mm.
Although there were a couple of things that bugged me.
Well, you wouldn't be you if there weren't.
This is true.
So,
I think about everything bugs me, so.
Yeah. All right, so before we get started talking about that, let's talk about what we are reading.
Well, if you discount the fact that Goodreads says I'm reading 7 different things, I'm actually not actively reading anything. But that's because I finished one and haven't started anything else yet. But I finally finished The Thinking Woman's Guide to Real Magic. That one took a while.
Yeah, that one did take a while. How was the ending?
I need book 2. Because...
Do we know when book 2 is coming out?
No, I haven't even looked. But there's going to be a book 2. She can't leave it there.
She's not allowed to leave it there.
No, that is not allowed. I finished that finally, and it was actually really good. I think I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads.
Oh, well, that is pretty good.
It was good. Like I said, it wasn't what I expected when I started, because, you know, from the blurb I read on Goodreads and from, like, the first chapter or so, I was expecting something that was going to be a little bit more like...
What Discovery of Witches?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
The name of it just completely left me there for a minute. But it wasn't. It ended up being more of your typical fantasy story. But it was good. The magic system wasn't really explained in depth too much in this one, because our protagonist didn't really have that much experience with it. But I'm thinking maybe in the next one we'll get some more information about how the magic works.
Right.
So, but yeah, definitely ended on a cliffhanger and must have book 2. And then I read the newest Stephanie Plum book by Jena Malone, Takedown 20. Which, you know, they're fluff. But they're fun. They make me laugh. And there was a giraffe in this one named Kevin.
Okay.
Well, you know, Stephanie is a bounty hunter.
Mm-hmm.
And her sort of partner is Lula, this big black woman who used to be a hoe.
Okay.
And they are trying to apprehend someone who skipped bail. And they see a giraffe walking down the street in the middle of the burg in New Jersey.
That's not a common occurrence, I don't think.
No, that's not normal. And, like, nobody is talking about the giraffe. And then finally Ranger sees the giraffe. So Ranger, Lula, and Stephanie have all seen the giraffe, and they're trying to figure out what is going on with the giraffe and why is nobody reporting this giraffe. But you find out at the end it's kind of tied in with the actual what's going on in the book. But Lula named the giraffe Kevin and said she had a connection with him, and she keeps throwing lettuce out on the corner of the streets where they first saw him to feed him.
Aww.
But he's okay at the end of the book. They send him to he was already being sent to a zoo in Florida, and he sort of got derailed.
Okay.
But they herded him back onto a truck and sent him on his way to the zoo in Florida.
Okay, so as long as he's okay, because if you're going to introduce a giraffe and name him Kevin, then he has to survive by the end of the book.
Yes, he was fine.
Okay, good.
But that one, it was good. It made me laugh. It was fluff, and it was fast and easy, and I was going to start Feed while I was at work today, but my ebook copy has some punctuation problems, like there's no quotation marks or dashes.
Oh, great.
And that bugs me.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah. So, I put the kibosh on that.
Yeah.
I was like, this is making me crazy. I can't read this. So I'm probably going to start Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor.
Okay.
I, went to the library the other day. Something I've been avoiding all year. Anyway, I think it's sort of a steampunk kind of thing, maybe.
Mhm.
And it's one I've been wanting to read for a while. Apparently, black handprints are appearing on doorways, scorched there by winged strangers who have crept through a slit in the sky. This could be interesting.
That does sound interesting.
It's set in Prague.
Okay, that's cool.
And there's a girl who is sketching monsters. Her name is Karu. She fills her sketchbooks with monsters that may or may not be real. She speaks many languages, not all of them human, and her bright blue hair actually grows out of her head that color. So, yeah, this should be interesting.
Mhm.
I've been wanting to read it for a while. It's been out. Book 1 has been out for a couple of years, I think.
Uh-huh.
And I'm pretty sure it's one I found on Goodreads. It was recommended to me on Goodreads.
Okay.
And I've seen several people have read it, and the cover's really neat. It's a girl wearing one of those feathered, like, masquerade masks.
Mhm.
And it's blue. So that's what I'm fixing to start. And it's actually, a dead tree book, not an ebook. Then I have 3 more books that I got at the library, so I'm not sure when I'm going to have time to read these.
Mhm.
Considering Christmas is next week.
Well, it's not next week. It's the week after next. Don't even say I'm not ready for it to be next week.
Well, my books are due back the day after Christmas.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I'm not going to finish reading them by then. I'm going to have to call and recheck them. Or return part of them and recheck the ones I haven't finished. Because the others I got were a trilogy that I started reading. I don't remember if I read the first one this year or at the end of last year. It was The Hollow by Jessica Verde.
Mhm.
And they never had book 2 and 3. It was last year I read it because I haven't been to the library this year at all until the other day. They never had book 2 and 3. When I went back and was going to get them and finish reading the series, they never had book 2 and 3. I went over there and they were all 3 in, so I went ahead and got The Hollow and the other 2. So I was like, as long as it's been, I probably need to reread the first one.
Yeah, probably.
So that's hopefully... I probably won't read them all by the end of the year, but I just need one more. I need to finish one more to meet my goal.
Okay, well you should have that, I would think.
Yeah. I should be able to do that.
Well, I unfortunately have kind of slipped into a reading slump. And I don't know whether it's because I haven't had a whole lot of time or whether I've been really tired and work has been a bear lately, and when I get really stressed, the last thing that I want to do is read.
Yeah.
Because it's hard for me to focus. It's much easier to go and play Lord of the Rings online, which is what I've been doing more with my spare time.
Yeah.
But I think part of it, I don't know why, because the part that I've read so far has been good, but I think that I'm just not in the mood to read any of the Katie Cross books right now.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to make myself do it, and that never goes well.
No, it usually backfires.
Yeah, so I think that's been part of it. It's I'm going to finish that series because I do really want to know what happens next, but I think I'm going to set it aside for right now and maybe pick it up in a month or 2.
Yeah.
Which means that I get to go to the next book that is on my stack here, and that will be White Cat by Holly Black. It is the first book in the Cursed Workers series. I don't know how many books there are in the series, and I've read some of Holly Black's stuff before. Her and Cassandra Clare are friends.
Yeah.
So I've read Tithe, which is another first book in a series where I never finished the rest of them because I just don't, for some reason. I am so bad at that. See, that was why I was really trying to keep reading the Steampunk Chronicles, because I'm like, I have too many series that I have just stopped reading, and not for any good reason. I mean, it's not like I
You
didn't...
never finished the Infernal Devices series either, did you?
No.
Did you ever finish the Mortal Instruments?
Yes.
You got caught up on those?
Yes.
Okay, you just didn't finish you read the first Infernal Devices and never read the second one or the third one.
Right. Yes. And I haven't read... I read the first book in the Infernal Devices.
Yeah.
But nothing else.
And you haven't read any more Mercedes Lackey.
No.
Your goal of trying to finish series has failed miserably.
Well, see, here's the thing, though. I was trying desperately to, when I started a new series, to finish that series. That, I mean, probably like middle of the year, that was like a goal of mine, was like, okay, don't start anything new without finishing it and then moving on to whatever was next. And that would have been fine. I mean, I finished the Maze Runner trilogy and I was really happy about that. And then I don't know why, I've just had a hard time getting back into the Steampunk Chronicles. And like I said, so far the second book is really, really good, and I enjoyed the first one. I mean, you know that. So it's just,
Yeah.
I guess I'm just not in the mood for that right now. And Holly Black's stuff is usually a little bit darker, or at least Tithe was. It was about fairies, but it was really kind of your dark and twisted type fairies, which is
Yeah.
cool. You know, I dig that. But this one sounds really interesting, and I don't know that much about it, to be honest, but the blurb sounds good, and I believe it's a YA fantasy, like urban fantasy type, but it's got a male protagonist, which is not
That's
common.
unusual.
So,
No.
you know, so I'm gonna give this a try. I haven't started it yet. I've just pulled it off the shelf and sat it on my desk. That's as close as I've gotten to it. As of right now, there are 3 books in the series out, and I think that this is incorrect because they do have a listing on Goodreads for Curse Workers number 4, but it says that the expected publish date is 2030. So I think that may just be a placeholder because hasn't been a book 4 announced yet, or something.
Probably.
But I'm gonna guess that book 3 was published in 2012. I mean, book 1 was 2010, then 2 was 2011, and 3 was 2012. So either book 4 isn't going to happen, or she's just waiting a really long time.
A really, really long time.
Yeah.
If that 2030 is correct.
Yeah, I know. So, I mean, that's why I'm thinking that either it was entered incorrectly or it's just kind of a placeholder until they get more information or whatever. But,
Yeah.
so yeah, I guess I'll let everybody know how this is next week when hopefully I start it.
And my mood affects what I want to read too, so.
Yeah. And I'm always kind of weird around the holidays anyway. So my mood is really, really like fluctuating and temperamental at the moment. So that's probably another reason why I'm having a really hard time just sitting down and reading as much as I used to. So, but that's all right. I'm, you know, sometimes this happens, and the more you try and force yourself to read, the less you want to do it. So I'm not going to worry about it.
Yeah. I mean, I was in a slump earlier this year. So.
Yeah. And to be truthful, I've already met my number of books to read this year goal, and the other goals that I had, I failed miserably at, so there's no way for me to do better at this point. So I'm just gonna
Don't sweat it.
Yeah, you know. So since neither one of us are actively really reading a whole bunch at the moment, let's go ahead and jump into talking about this movie.
Yes.
I think that would probably be a good idea.
So, like I said, you know, it's been a while since I read Catching Fire, and I've only read it once. So, I probably didn't pick up on as many changes as I normally would. Because It's been so long since I read it. But, I mean, you know, overall, I was pretty impressed. I thought it was good.
Yeah, I was kind of over the moon about this movie. I am so impressed by how well they are doing with this series.
Yes.
I mean, really, it's.
Can these people make all book to movie adaptations from here on out?
I know. Can that just be like the thing? Because
Can that be their job?
yeah, they're so good at it. And I mean, even with the first one, there were obviously some things that they had to condense and there were some things that they had to cut. But they did it in such a way that even if you did recognize that something was missing, you didn't really miss it all that much because there wasn't this big gaping hole.
Right.
I mean, when I first came out of the first movie, I sat there and I'm like, oh my gosh, they didn't cut anything, which isn't true. Of course, they cut something, but they're like the Harry Potter movies, for example. I would always come out of there saying, oh, I wish they had put this in there or this in there, or they
Yeah.
really dropped the ball because they didn't include this because this was really missing. But with these, you don't feel like that much is missing. It doesn't feel like I said, like a big gaping hole. They
Right.
bridge the gap just perfectly. And the way that they do, I mean, for the most part with book to movie adaptations, as long as the movie maintains at least some semblance of the spirit of the book, then I'm more inclined to forgive its other faults.
Right.
And that was something else that these movies have done just
Well, see,
brilliantly.
my thing with making changes in book to movie adaptations is if I can see why it was changed, I'm usually okay with it.
Right.
But if I can see no discernible reason whatsoever for them to have changed it, then it makes me angry. Like, most of the Mortal Instruments movies.
Yeah.
There was no reason for most of those changes.
I don't think there was a reason for any of them because none of them really made any sense. I mean, the only thing that even remotely made sense at all was that, uh, and I'm using the term making sense loosely here, um, was the thing where Clary kept drawing the symbols everywhere.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of a visual representation of some other things were going on in her head. Sort of. I mean, I didn't like the way they did it, but I kind of understood why they did it.
Yeah, I mean, in the books, it was just, bring her back every 2 years or something,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll do this spell. It was a visual way to show that the spell was wearing off.
Right.
I mean, that one I can understand. While I didn't really like the way they did it, I can understand why they did it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make me angry. Having Valentine stab things in the floor and create a pentagram to let demons into the Institute? Why? There's no reason for that. That one made me angry. So, I mean, the Hunger Games does a really good job of the things that they do change. You can see why it was changed. Because, I mean, that's just the nature of going from a written medium to a visual medium. Things have to be changed.
Right.
Like, the Hunger Games, the books, they're told from inside Katniss's head.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that on a movie screen.
No.
So they had to change it from first person to third person. I mean, you can't really do a movie in first person. Well, you could, but it'd be really complicated.
Yeah.
So a lot of the changes they made are directly tied into that change of person.
Right.
Which makes it work and makes it okay.
Well, and besides that, is it does add another dimension to the story.
It really does.
Because we don't know what's going on, like in the first one, and we'll talk about the second one eventually, but we keep talking about the first one too. There was a reason. Well, it was interesting because the things that happened in the movie where you were actually in the Capitol, or you were in the room with the game makers, or you were with Seneca Crane and President Snow when they were talking in the garden. Those are all scenes that could very well have been in the book. But Katniss wasn't present during those scenes, so there was no way for you to know that they were happening, but they were completely 100% plausible.
Right.
And so adding in things like that, as far as I'm concerned, is perfectly fine. That's adding depth to it because, like I said, you know for a fact that that type of meeting did happen.
Right.
Between
And
the game makers and the president.
They didn't just add stuff willy-nilly. They kept the spirit of the original work.
Right.
I mean, it fit. It flowed well. It didn't seem out of place or disjointed.
Right. So the one thing I did like about Catching Fire, and like you, it hasn't been quite as long since I've read the book. I read it earlier this past year. I reread the whole trilogy, but there's still a lot of things that I don't remember, like specific details. But they really demonstrated, and a lot of this has to do with the fact that Jennifer Lawrence is just amazing. Like, words cannot describe how much I adore her. She is just absolutely phenomenal, and I cannot picture anybody else doing this role and doing it any justice. I can't. And you really get a good sense of what being in the Hunger Games has done to her.
Yeah, it's called post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah, and I don't remember that as much in the book. And it may have been there, but one of the first things that you see is she's out in the woods, and she still goes out hunting, even though she has all of the rewards that winning the Hunger Games will get you. She has a nice house, and they're provided with food, but she still goes out and hunts with Gale to help other people, because it's just the type of person she is.
Mm-hmm.
She feels responsible not just for her family, but for everybody in her district. And that's one of the things that makes her such a good character. But there's this one point where they're together and they find some wild turkeys, I think, or there's some sort of bird.
Yeah,
and so she has her bow and arrow, and she's getting ready to shoot one of them. And as soon as she does it, she has like a flashback, and she sees, I think it was the guy who threw the spear that killed Rue.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what it looked like. But all of a sudden, where the turkey was, she sees that guy falling down dead with something like a spear or an arrow or something in him. And she immediately jumps back and is in the middle of this huge panic attack. And if you think about it, that's pretty spot on to how somebody would react, or how this whole situation, how that whole experience would have affected them. And that's not the only instance. There's a couple of other things where she's kind of recalls things that have happened before, and she's able to deal with it because she's a very strong person. But I really liked, especially that opening. I mean, you know, because at first she looks like she's okay. She's very serious. She's very focused. She's still doing what she used to do. It's like she's gone back to, her old life. But then you find out, just from that really quick experience, that she's not okay. Not by a long shot.
No, and I mean, you would expect anybody that went through the Hunger Games and survived to deal with PTSD. I mean, that's just that's normal. I mean, that's probably why Haymitch drinks.
I'm sure it is. But
I mean, but as for the thing that kind of bugged me, I kind of hate that they left out some of the stuff with the morphlings.
Yeah.
And with the tributes, the ones they called nuts and bolts.
BT and Wirus.
Yeah, they left out some of the stuff with them.
Right.
And I really liked them, and I thought that there should have been more of that stuff in there. And they kind of, I may be wrong here. I may be misremembering, but did they not make a big deal in the books about the fact that Finnick was from a district that had a lot to do with water, and he was like a really, really, really good swimmer?
I don't know. I don't remember exactly. I mean, I know he was from a fishing district, or a district that did a lot of fishing.
Yeah. And I'm
Because
pretty sure there was
his main weapon of choice was a trident,
right.
which is pretty
I'm
cool.
pretty sure there was something in there about him being a really good swimmer.
Okay.
And there was more stuff that went on at the beach that was left out.
Right. There was
More.
there was a lot of stuff that was condensed. I think they ended up condensing a lot more
Yeah.
in this one, um, having to leave out some larger plot points. Which that's some of the thing you understand why they did it, but it's still kind of frustrating that they had to.
Yeah.
I will say though,
Not everybody wants to sit through a 3.5 hour movie.
no, not everybody's us.
Mm-mm.
But
I would happily sit through it.
oh, I would too.
And this is
And
one
I wouldn't
reason.
be the only one.
No. And this is one reason why I'm glad Peter Jackson made 3 Hobbit movies.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody was like, "It's such a short book. How can you get that much?" I'm like, do you see the way they normally butcher book-to-movie adaptations? Because they don't have enough time, because nobody wants to sit through a 3.5 hour movie. And even that would be pushing it for some things. To be able to get everything in there, you would really need, a mini-series.
Well, to be fair, he's also adding some stuff.
Well, this is true. He's adding stuff from the appendices and some other things. But still, I think it's better to do 3 movies out of the book than to try to cram it all into one and have to delete stuff.
Right. Now, I can't remember. Are they splitting Mockingjay into two movies?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
They are doing 2 Mockingjays.
Well, there's a lot to cover in Mockingjay.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff. See, and that was the thing with this one. I think the book was a little bit longer, but it wasn't so much the length of the book or the material. It was just the way that it had to be presented on screen took up more time.
Right. Well, and I think because part of it, I remembered this from the first movie, is that there was a lot of time spent talking about how Katniss was constantly looking for water, and that she got severely dehydrated several times. And obviously that's some stuff that we're going to leave out because, nobody really wants to talk about that, which, I mean, obviously it's something that was a problem and something that she needed to deal with, but it's not really interesting to watch on screen.
Right.
So they were able to cut out a lot of stuff that way because there was quite a bit of the book that dealt with that problem, because for her at the time it was a very big problem. And leaving something like that out was perfectly fine with me because I really didn't want to talk about how her, pee was turning brown.
Right.
But see, Catching Fire is such a more complicated story to begin with because, in case anybody doesn't know and you have been living under a rock, basically the whole end of the Hunger Games last year, where they decided to have 2 victors because they threatened to kill themselves. Basically, a lot of the people in Panem saw that as an act of rebellion.
And by a lot of people, we mean President Snow.
Well, no.
Well, I mean, a lot of people saw it, but he's the one that got mad over it.
Well, yeah.
We can't have that.
No, because that's giving the people that are under his thumb the hope and the belief that they can overthrow the Capitol. And there have been uprisings in a couple of the districts, which we kind of see because Katniss snoops a little bit and kind of sees inside a room where there's some televisions that are showing people attacking the peacekeepers and people setting fire to various government buildings. So President Snow basically says you need to convince everybody that you are hopelessly in love with Peeta, and that's the reason why you did what you did. Now, Katniss is not in love with Peeta. She never was.
No.
I mean, she doesn't dislike him.
Most of the time.
Yeah, but she's not in love with him. And she also finds out that Gale is in love with her, which I really have to question her judgment when she, was oblivious for as long as she was. I mean, come on, seriously?
Yeah. See, I still hate Peeta.
I know, and I still don't quite understand why.
I don't understand it. I
could understand if you were, on Team Gale, as they say.
I am.
But, I mean, and I can understand that, but at the same time, I don't understand what he has done to earn your hatred.
I don't know either.
He's a nice boy.
I don't know. There is something about him that just makes me want to punch him in the mouth.
I don't understand.
I don't understand it either.
He's a nice
boy. I do. I hate Peeta. I don't have an explanation for it either. But there it is. And it hasn't changed noticeably in this movie. I still hate Peeta.
We're sorry, Josh Hutcherson.
It's nothing personal against Josh Hutcherson. It's the character of Peeta.
Because I thought he's done an excellent job with Peeta, but hey, you will not earn.
I hated the character in the book, so I mean it's nothing against Josh Hutcherson or his portrayal of Peeta. I didn't like the character in the book, so I was just predetermined, preconditioned to not like him in the movie. So,
because I actually thought that he was really sweet in the movie, because they have to go on this tour of the districts as the victors of the Hunger Games, and obviously this is really, really awkward because they're supposed to be acting like they're in love, and Katniss has already been threatened by President Snow that they have to convince the country that they are in love, and so obviously she's a little tense about that. And so, I mean, there was at one point when they're on the train, and he's basically saying, I can't just pretend that we're in love while the cameras are rolling and then just be ignored the whole time, the rest of the time. But he understands that the way that she acted when they were in the Hunger Games was just, he can't expect her to, be the same way outside, because they were doing what they had to do in order to survive. And there's this whole scene where they're talking about, he say, well, we can just try and be friends, at least. Like, I don't even really know anything about you. And this was so cute, I thought. She's like, well, I'm not really good at making friends. And he said, well, just tell me something about you. Like, what's your favorite color? And she's like, oh, no, you just crossed the line.
Yeah.
I love that scene. I don't know why.
That one made me giggle.
It was just cute. No, it's too much. But I also think that it's perfect that her favorite color is green.
Yeah, well, at the same time, I'm sitting there, I'm like, she says she's not good at being friends. I'm like, she's fine with Gale. What does she think Gale is? Well, granted, Gale's in love with her, but up until she knew that,
well, but I don't think she ever really saw. I mean, she obviously didn't really see Gale as a romantic interest, but I think she felt a lot more brother-sistery to him when they were growing up and hunting and doing all the things that they were doing. And maybe that was going to change. Like, I think she said in the movie, too, that if they were someplace where they were safe and she didn't have to worry about everything else, then maybe things would be different.
Yeah.
And maybe it would be. Who knows?
Well, Gale was perfect for Katniss. That's just how I feel.
And I'm not disputing that. I mean, he probably was. But at the same time...
He actually knew her,
Yeah.
And he understood her and understood the hunting and the feeding her family and taking care of her family, and Peeta didn't really get that.
Well, no, but Peeta understood what it was like being in the Hunger Games.
True.
And as much as they show the things that happen there, Gale really doesn't have any frame of reference for what that experience was like.
No, that's true. I mean, I understand her and Peeta being close because of that experience. I just never liked him as the love interest for her. I was Team Gale all the way, and I just wanted to punch Peeta. I don't know why. I can't explain it. He just gets under my skin somehow.
Well, let's move on to the games themselves. For this year, since it's the 75th Hunger Games, they always do a special thing at the 25th and the 50th, and now at the 75th. And it's supposedly random, but we all know how random it was.
Well, see, they made a bigger deal of that in the book, too, that it was supposed to be random, that it was sealed in an envelope when the games were created. And
right. Yeah, they didn't.
Sort of,
they kind of glossed over that.
Yeah, and they kind of made it obvious that Professor? No. President Snow and what's-his-face came up with this, oh, well, let's just draw from the pool of victors.
Yeah.
Thing. They made it kind of obvious that it wasn't random, that they were intentionally trying to kill Katniss.
Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I mean, that was such a, I mean, even though I know it's coming, that was such a devastating part of the movie, because you could just tell they showed scenes at the houses. I mean, at Katniss's house and at Peeta's house and at Haymitch's house, because now, I mean, you automatically know that Katniss is going in because she's the only female victor that District 12 has.
Right.
And you also know that Haymitch and Peeta are going, it's one of them. And you don't want to lose either one of them, except you want Peeta to die, probably. But, you know...
well, I don't want him to die.
You just want him to go away.
I just want to punch him. I want to kill him. Scream him.
He has done nothing to deserve that.
That may be true, but he gets under my skin. And he makes me angry, and I don't know why.
Oh gosh. But it was such a horrible turning point for the movie, because you know that, and okay, we've said it before. In fact, we said it actually last episode, I believe. But Woody Harrelson, oh my gosh, he is so perfect. He had so many just really good scenes. I mean, now he's can't be in the whole thing, because obviously once they go to the games, you don't see him anymore. But I mean, his reaction when he finds out what's going to happen. I loved when he, I don't even want to say it was a pep talk per se, because it wasn't, but when they first find out what's going on in the other districts, and when they are, you know, pulled away from the ceremony at District 11, and the one guy pulled from the crowd is shot, like right there in front of everyone. And, you know, Katniss is saying, please just help me get through the tour and help me get through this. And Haymitch is like, this does not end when we get home. Every year you're going to have to be put in front of everybody, and they're going to replay things that you guys did, and this is never going to be over. Regardless of what happens here, this will be the rest of your life, living this charade for the rest of the country. And the sooner that you accept that, the better.
Right.
And I loved that scene. I loved the scene when Gale is arrested and he's being whipped. I mean, that's not the part that I love, but because that was really brutal. But when Katniss comes out and tries to stop them, and that doesn't work, and then Haymitch runs out there, and he's like, you do not want to hit her, because, you know, she's kind of the Capitol's darling. And the peacekeeper guy, he's like, well, she got in my way, and she's not she's interfering with this discipline, and he says, I never said she was smart.
Right.
I cracked up at that part. I mean, he had so many good moments there. It was really, really, really well done. I would love to see him get like a supporting actor something for this. I mean, he probably won't, because these types of movies usually don't get a lot of recognition, but
Yeah.
he totally deserves it.
He really does. I mean, and it's sad that these kind of movies, I mean, they'll be blockbuster hits and get passed up for Academy Awards.
Well, because it's not a serious film. You see, it was just, you know.
It's not The Crying Game or The Piano or.
Yeah. It's a movie that people have heard of.
It's not one of those artsy fartsy flicks that nobody watched.
No. It's not.
See, I think we should, pay more attention to the movies that people actually watch.
Yeah, people other than film critics.
Yeah. Film critics can go suck an egg.
But there were also there were several new people that joined the cast this time too, and I just have to say, because ever since I saw the photograph that was going around with all of the new press release type stuff, Sam Claflin as Finnick, yes please.
See, I'm trying to figure out what I've seen him in before, and I just haven't been bothered to look him up on IMDb.
He was in the last Pirates of the Caribbean movie.
That's probably what I saw him in.
He was, do you remember there was a guy who was traveling with them who was the priest, and he fell in love with the mermaid?
Yes.
That's him.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that's what you were thinking of or not, but that's him.
Well, I don't know if that's what I was thinking of or not either, but I know I've seen him in that because I've seen that.
Yeah, but I don't know. There's just something, he has that kind of smirk, especially at the beginning, where you just know that at first you just know he's kind of trouble. But at the same time, he's not just joking around. He is 100% completely serious. But you don't know for sure where his loyalty is.
Right.
Because, he's in the games just as much as everybody else is.
Yeah. And I love that he has Haymitch's bracelet to prove to Katniss that
he should be trusted.
Yeah, that he's their ally.
I mean, it's so complicated because you don't know who to trust. You don't know who is on your side, and really, once you're in the games, you know that it's designed to only have one person survive. So it's like you really can't trust anyone very much, but you have to, otherwise, you're not going to make it. And I loved the arena this time. I thought that they captured what it looked like perfectly.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty awesome, the way that the arena was. And I even in the book, I loved the idea that they found the edges of it and basically brought it down.
Yeah. That was pretty good. And oh my gosh, Mags.
The Mags made me sad. Mags
just, oh my gosh. And she was, first off, the actress who played Mags, she was so adorable. Oh my gosh. I think that she was just the sweetest thing. You know that she's not going to make it. That's pretty obvious. She's a lot older, and she's from Phoenix District. He has to carry her on his back most of the time because she can't keep up with them. But she's got so much spunk for, an old lady who's stuck in this situation. And, just like in the book, she sacrificed herself so that the the rest of them could get away. I mean, there's so many horrible things that happen in that arena, and they were all done, I thought, quite well. You know, you have the poisonous mist stuff that just looks really gross.
Yeah.
You have the monkeys.
Those were evil.
See, I've seen the movie twice so far, and the second time when I went, during that part, I did not watch the screen. I watched the rest of the theater to see how many people jumped. Because I knew it was coming.
Yeah, the monkeys were creepy.
Yes. And, the Jabberjays. Jabberjays?
Yes. Or, no, yeah, Jabberjays, that's it.
They mimic sounds?
Yes. And when Katniss heard Prim scream.
Yeah. So you had the monkeys and the Jabberjays and the poisonous mist. You had the lightning tree. And they kept in BT's plan to try and electrocute people.
Right.
Which is how he won the first time around.
Yep.
Because he's kind of a genius. And I don't know, it's so hard to even talk about all of the parts that I liked because so much of it was done so well.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, I was really happy with it. I mean, the people who are making these movies, they've got the right idea.
Mm-hmm.
They know what they're doing. They're doing a very good job. I mean, they need to make every book adaptation ever from now on.
Yeah.
Even if it means we only got one a year instead of, 6, but these people are the ones that need to do it. And do you know how much Susan Collins has been involved with the movies?
I believe she's a producer.
See, that could have a lot to do with it.
And I think, I'm trying to remember, I don't remember if she's been involved with, the screenwriting or not. In fact, I'm going to check that. I want to say that she was, but I could be wrong. No, on the first one, she co-wrote the screenplay.
See, that would have a lot to do with it. I mean, she wrote the books and then co-wrote the screenplay, then it's going to be pretty spot on.
Yeah. There were 3 people who collaborated on the screenplay, and she was one of them. And then she was also executive producer.
See, people, I know I doubt anyone important in movies is actually listening to our podcast, but in case they are, if you want to make a good book-to-movie adaptation, let the author be involved.
Yeah.
Let them have a say-so in how you do things.
Now, she's not listed as a screenwriter for the second movie, but she is still executive producing, so maybe she didn't have time to work on it, I don't know. And I don't know about Mockingjay either. She might be involved in that one too. Well, I'm sure she will be, at least producing, but yeah, I'm sure that that's a large part of it.
I mean, you cannot go wrong letting the author have a say-so in what you do with their characters and their story.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
because it depends. I mean, you might have some of them that are really kind of anal retentive about certain things, and you have to be able to let some things go.
Right. They shouldn't be given free rein. I mean, they shouldn't make all of the decisions.
Right.
But if you've got a change that you have to make, you should run it by them, and if they're like, that is completely out of character for this person to do, you should probably pay attention. Like, making Valentine a raving lunatic.
Well, yeah, there is that. But yeah, just having that much creative control over your your story and how it's portrayed here, I believe it's made all the difference
Yeah.
in the way that these have gone, because they're just so well done. And even this one, like I said, where I felt more like things were missing, but it wasn't like this major problem. It was just, oh, okay, well, they did that a little bit differently. That works.
Well, yeah, or like, leaving out the stuff with the morphlings or the stuff with uh BT. They just basically removed stuff that wasn't absolutely necessary.
Right. Um, but just to touch on a few other casting things, because I mean we don't want to go too long, and we're starting to get to that point. But I mean I've gone on and on about Jennifer Lawrence, so y'all know how I feel about her. Y'all know how I feel about Woody Harrelson. I still feel the same way I did the first movie about Lenny Kravitz.
Yes.
Watching him get beaten to a pulp was just horrifying. I still feel the same way about Stanley Tucci.
How does he show every tooth in his
How
head
does he do that? And not look like he's in pain? I mean, I cannot smile so that every single tooth in my mouth is showing. It hurts.
No, I can't either.
He is hilarious.
I love him. They couldn't have gotten anybody better for Caesar Flickerman, because
he's so over the top.
Stanley Tucci is great in everything he's in that I've ever seen. He plays the father in Easy A, and he's hilarious in that. And he's probably got a grand total of maybe 10 minutes of screen time in the entire movie.
Uh-huh.
And he's awesome. And he's in Burlesque with Cher and Christina Aguilera, and he's great in it. I'm just like, dude, you're hilarious. Make me laugh.
No, he's so funny, and he does such a good job showing how clueless basically the people in the Capitol are.
Mm-hmm.
Because the whole time when they're doing that big, show with all the interviews, and he's talking about how they're going to have to say goodbye to all of these people who they've, grown up watching because of how they bring all of them back for the games to be mentors. And so you see replays of some of the things. And some of them, like Finnick, have been in the Capitol and have kind of made a name for themselves. And he's like, so, we're going to have to say goodbye to all of them but one. Isn't that great? Yay! It's like, don't you hear what you're saying? Don't you understand that this is horrible? And it just drives home that point that most of the people in the Capitol don't get it.
Mm-mm.
And another one that I thought did an excellent job, and who did a good job last movie too, but was really showcased here, was Elizabeth Banks as Effie Trinket.
Right.
Because she's one who's starting to see how horrible the Hunger Games are.
Right. She's starting to understand that it's not a game.
Right.
Now that she's had a victor and she's going to lose that victor, she's starting to see that it's not a game, it's not fun, it's not...
Right. And she genuinely cares about Katniss and Peeta. And the thought of losing them, especially since she's kind of bought into the whole they're in love and getting married sort of deal. I mean, she's, in her own way, she's heartbroken that that's not going to happen now, because one or both of them are going to die. And she gets several times and she keeps saying, we are a team, and we're, it's like her way of saying we're together, but we're not going to stay that way. And I thought that showing that change in her perspective, I'm going to guess that probably isn't an easy thing to do, and I think that she nailed it.
Yeah, she really did. She did a good job. Like I said, you could tell that she was coming to terms with the fact that maybe the Capitol and this regime we live under is not all it's cracked up to be.
Yeah, it's not this wonderful, perfect thing. Let's see, other people. We've talked about Sam Claflin and Lynn Cohen as Mags. I loved Jena Malone as Joanna.
Yes.
She has got an attitude.
Yes, she does.
And I will say that my husband was very, very happy that they left in the elevator scene. Even though you don't see anything. But basically, they're in all of their crazy costumes for the parade. And Joanna walks into their elevator, and it's Katniss and Peeta and Haymitch. And she proceeds to take off all of her clothes because she hates them. And just hangs out there, stark naked, until she gets to her floor, and then she leaves.
And Haymitch is like, thank you.
Oh, right. I don't think...
Peeta looks like somebody smacked him in the back of the head with a board.
It was so funny watching their reactions, because, I mean, Haymitch is like, okay, and Peeta's like, oh, what do I do? And Katniss is like, you've got to be kidding me.
One thing I have to say, and I don't know, I think I may have told you this, but I think it was Cosmo. I think I got the issue that Jennifer Lawrence was, I think she was on the cover.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, there was an interview in there, and she was talking about doing the Hunger Games movies, and she was talking about, since she lived in District 12, which was the poorest district, that the casting directors and everybody, they wanted her to lose weight.
Right.
Because, people that lived in District 12 were supposed to be starving.
Well, that, and they probably wanted her to lose weight just because they're in Hollywood, and that's what they tell actresses to do when they're in Hollywood.
Well, that too, but mostly because, she was in District 12, and people in District 12 weren't supposed to be healthy. Jennifer Lawrence refused to do it.
Yeah.
She told them, she said, I'm going to be the role model for thousands and thousands of girls, and I'm not going to do it looking unhealthy.
Yeah. I didn't hear the exact interview, but I heard about it, and I have so much respect for her.
I was just like, you go, girl.
I know. And because she's right. Because that was a criticism I heard from a couple of people in the first movie, was that she looked too...
well-fed?
Yes, for being from District 12. And I rationalized it by saying, well, she's better fed than most of them because of all of the hunting that she's doing.
Right.
And I mean, it's not like she's like a hefty girl by any means.
No.
I mean, there's
normal.
Absolutely nothing wrong with her. As my husband will attest, because he kind of has a crush on her. Actually, there is no kind of, he does. 100%.
Oh, Lord.
Well, no, he's got good taste. I cannot fault him on this one.
Well, this is true.
If you're going to like a Hollywood starlet, she is obviously a good choice, because, like I said, she's a sensible person who seems like a real person, and she's beautiful, hey.
She's not buying into this, I must be thin too.
No.
She's happy being healthy.
Yeah. Which is
how it should be.
Great. Yes, that's... Oh, I wish we had a lot more people like that. But anyway, for me, overall, I just thought that this movie was excellent.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it,
Yeah.
and I'm going to go see it again. Because I promised my friend Jenny that would be my birthday present to her, is I would take her to see Catching Fire. If we can ever get a day that we can go. The problem is, she needs to go to a matinee during the day.
Mm.
And the only time our theater does matinees is on Friday through Monday. And I've had to work every weekend. Or she's had something she's had to do. So we haven't been able to get our crap together and go. But I'm going to try to get her to go. This should be in theaters for a while.
Yeah, it's going to be there for some time yet. I don't think it's really slowed down that much.
No,
but,
so
yeah.
I'm going to... Well, I mean, when we went to see it Thursday night, of course, granted, I live in a small town, and we went on a Thursday night. There was the four of us and, 3 other people in the theater.
Mm.
but I live in Alabama, and catching fire is not really a huge thing here. Like, much like The Hobbit is not a huge thing, and I almost went to see it last night, but Paulette didn't go. She finally got a hold of her nieces, and they were already at the theater. They never did tell her what time, and she was just like, I'm not going down there. They can see it without me. So I didn't go either. Plus, I had to be at work at 8 o'clock this morning, and they weren't going till like 9 o'clock. And I was like,
Yeah, that's not good. Well, we need to figure out when we can see the movie and talk about it here too. So.
Well, I know if nothing else, I will get to see it after Christmas. My friend Bridget is coming home.
Okay.
And she promised that she would go see it with me. So, it may be after Christmas, but I am going to go see this one in theaters. Unless I can, get my friend Paulette or my friend Leanne to go with me before then.
Well, I don't know for sure when we're going to go. We're trying to figure that out, but trying to do right around Christmas is hard.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot going on.
I think Bridget said they'd be home the 29th. So it actually may be like the end of December, 1st of January before I could see it.
Okay. Well, we'll figure that out. But that will be something
and
to look forward to.
We will definitely do a Desolation of Smog episode. And I will probably, shout out to the Tolkien professor again. They do the Riddles in the Dark every year, which is they do this podcast where they discuss the upcoming movie.
Mm-hmm.
And they pose questions in every episode, the riddles. And then they do their digest episodes where they have the conundrums. The conundrums are yes or no questions. The riddles are multiple choice. Well, they posted the other day that the deadline to get your responses in to see if you could outguess Corey, the Tolkien professor.
Mm-hmm.
I actually submitted mine this year, so...
Oh, cool.
Hopefully before too long they'll be posting the results. Because if you get more right answers than Corey, you get a certificate saying that you beat the Tolkien professor.
And you want one, don't you?
I do. So hopefully, maybe by the time we actually discuss the movie, I'll know the results of the Riddles in the Dark, and I can say whether or not I outguessed the Tolkien professor. Should be fun.
Alrighty. Well, in that case, I think we're probably going to go ahead and end the show here.
Yeah.
But we
know what we're talking about next week.
Next week, I think is either going to be we're going to talk about our goals for the year, or it's going to be the week that we take off for Christmas.
Okay. Well, just let me know.
Yeah, because I'm not sure yet. That might end up being the week we take off for Christmas, actually, because it might be a little tricky. I've got a lot going on next weekend.
Yeah.
And that would give us some more time to talk about, because we're going to talk about our goals for 2013 and start setting some for 2014, I think.
Yeah.
So we would do that on the 28th, and then take the week, or the 29th, I'm sorry, and then not have an episode on the 22nd.
Okay.
Does that sound okay?
That'll work.
Okay. See, we plan things on the show just so y'all know what we're doing. It has nothing to do with us being disorganized. No, not at all.
No. We do it for your benefit.
Yes, of course we do. So, okay. Then that'll be what we do. No episode next week due to Christmas and whatever other winter holiday you might be celebrating.
Christmas, Hanukkah.
Yeah. Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa Yule.
Yeah, Christmas, Hanukkah,
Kwanzaa. So, and we will be back on the 29th and talking about our goals for 2014, which I cannot believe is as close as it is.
I know, it's staring at us.
Yeah. But in the
peeping
meantime,
over the horizon.
Yeah. In the meantime, we would love to hear what you guys thought of Catching Fire. Were you as impressed as we were? Because as you can tell, we were pretty impressed.
Yeah, we were pretty satisfied with it.
Yeah, so we would love to hear what you thought, or if there was something that you didn't like, you know, I mean, no movie is perfect.
Besides Peeta.
I'm not even
sorry.
I'm not even gonna respond anymore. I don't understand. I do not understand your hatred. But anyway, if you hate Peeta as much as Jess does and you want to show her some support, let us know. we would love to hear it. Give me your justification because I don't get it.
My friend Kayla doesn't like Peeta either.
I don't
My friend
understand.
Kayla doesn't like Peeta either.
Okay.
I tweeted. I put something on Instagram one time, and she come along and commented on it. She's like, I knew I couldn't be the only one that hated Peeta. I was like, thank you.
So anyway, yeah, show Jess some Peeta hating support. You can email us bibliophiles.podcast@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter. We are at bibanonpodcast. We are also on Facebook, Goodreads, YouTube, and you can also leave us comments at our official website, bibliophiles-anonymous.com. I almost gave the email address again, and that's not going to help you. So in the meantime, we will talk to you guys again in 2 weeks, and whatever holiday you're celebrating this time of year, we hope that you have a good one. And we will see you again. You will hear from us again on the 29th. So until then, bye-bye.